see, last we spoke, you had James Williamson next to you.
Right.
And yeah, that was, I think, back in September. So how's it been going since then?
Good. Yeah, it's been going good. Still waiting for James to get back over here. He's afraid to get on an airplane until he gets his vaccination schedule completed. So that, I guess that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll see him back over here.
Excellent. Yeah, got to get the vaccination, I guess. Everybody's scrambling around. And you're in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. So, he has a house here and in San Francisco, and he's been stuck in his San Francisco house all the past year.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to get to Hawaii, especially this time of year. So
yeah,
there you go. So you're getting your first solo album is being reissued and first time on vinyl and the whole bit. So what brought that on? It's part of a series of reissues that you're kind of curating, for a better word.
Yeah, well, Franz Barcella is the label boss at Wild Honey. But he also is part owner of Otis Tours, and my last maybe 7 or 8 tours of Europe have been with that touring company. So I often find myself stuck in a van with him for many hours on end, and we talk about all sorts of things. And he came up with the idea of, why don't I put out a series of all of your obscure stuff that has been out of print for a long time, and we'll call it the Dennis collection.
Right.
And I said, yeah, that's totally fine with me, although I don't own the copyright to a lot of it, but
right.
It's up to you to deal with that.
Yep.
And he said, fine. And so the first one he did was the Visitors reissue, and then this is going to be the next one in the sequence.
Right. So this is Take It to the Vertical, which originally was released, 92, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, you recorded it in Houston, Texas, and I got all excited when I saw the list of who's playing on it, because there's a guy named Grady Gaines who plays some saxophone on it.
That's right.
He goes way back he was like the band leader for Little Richard back in the 50s with the Upsetters. And,
that's right.
I hear him on, was it Those Times Are Gone? I think he plays on. What was it like working with him? It must have been pretty cool.
It was really cool. Grady, he plays on 3 tracks on the album. And we were originally just going to have him on 1 track. And it came up, we're sitting around the control room, and I'm talking to the engineer and Chris Mazwak. And Chris was really involved in the putting together of this album. He had all kinds of good ideas, and by the time we recorded, he had already had a lot of production experience, in the interim period when Birdman wasn't together.
Right.
And so I said, it'd be really great to have a sax part on this song. And Chris goes, nah, it's not going to work. He goes, the only way it could work is if Little Richard sax player could be on it. And so the engineer, whose name is Andy Bradley, we call him Mort, he goes, yeah, I can call him. And so he flips his card X and gets Grady Gaines' phone number out and picks up the phone and calls him. And he goes, you want to talk to him? So I said, sure. So I talked to him, and he said, I'll be right over. And he came to the studio. He's wearing a blue cardigan, brought his sax, and he was going to get $100 per track.
Yep.
And so he listened to it, and he goes, yeah, I can play something for that. And he just walked out into the studio, and Mort mic'd him up, and he blew this incredible saxophone solo. And I said, while you're here, you want to put that on a couple more songs? And he goes, yeah, why not? So
another hundy.
He did. And then when he was finished with the session, I went into the coffee room with him to pay him. And I gave him $300 bills. And he thought he's only going to get 100 for the whole session. So he ends up with $300 cash. And he goes, man, this is great. He says, I'll play for you guys anytime. Just come.
I love it.
He was really happy. And then he went out, he took off. Man. So, he's the guy that is in the white suit that jumps up on top of Little Richard's white grand piano in the movies.
Right. Man, oh man. I see. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he just passed away this past January. He was like 86 years old.
He did. Yeah, I saw that. I was very sad to see him go.
Yeah. But I love that stuff, and it's pretty cool to get him on a record like that. Well, that's what happens, and that's pre-internet. You nowadays you feel like you can kind of contact anybody, but you got to have an engineer with a Rolodex at that point, I guess.
Exactly, that's right.
That's great. So what do you? It was recorded in Houston at a place called Sugar Hill Studios. Why were you there? Why weren't you in Detroit or Australia or your usual haunts?
Well, I have a long connection with Mort. Mort was the Radio Birdman sound man. Mm-hmm. He was our chief road manager and sound guy in 70, I guess it was 77.
Right.
The last year that we were in Australia. And so we knew Mort, and, he ended up being chief engineer and part owner of Sugar Hill. So Chris had recorded the last Hitman album there, and that was called Moronic Inferno.
Right.
And I had just gotten out of the Navy, and Chris called me and said, do you want to come down to Houston and play on some of these tracks on this album I'm doing with Mort? And I said, yeah, sure. I was keen on getting back into music at that point anyway. So I went to Houston and became familiar with the studio. And when I was there, I mentioned to Mort the idea of coming back with my own album, in a few months. And he said, sure, come on down. I'll give you the big discount. And so that's how it happened. And I didn't really know about Sugar Hill before that, but learned that it is the second oldest continually operating recording studio in the world.
Really?
Second to Abbey Road, and the oldest in America.
Ah.
And then he showed us the tape archive room, and it's like your heart almost stops. There's 13th floor elevators in there, and
oh man,
everything from them through the Red Crayola, Lightning Hopkins, Johnny Winter, all the Texas guys are in there, and the Sir Douglas Quintet, all those tapes, the masters are still in there.
That's far out.
Yeah. So we're very happy to go there and record.
Very cool. So you were in the Navy before this. What caused you to drop out from music for a while, join the Navy, and then come back?
Well, Birdman was finished, and I was always interested in aviation,
right.
And it was my chance to do that.
Because there is a song on the album called Ships In, so maybe that is somewhat related to your naval experience. I don't know.
We sang ships in, run down to the field. Blind will see, the sick will heal. Ships in, everybody dance and sing. Rejoice for the wonders it will bring.
It's not, because those lyrics were written by the singer from The Visitors, Mark Sisto wrote those lyrics for me.
Okay.
And I think I'm not sure what his idea was for that song, whether it's an ancient culture and the Brit and Captain Cook comes,
right,
or if it's us and the aliens come, it's something like that.
Gotcha. So there is an extra track on the album. It's called Press On. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Previously, it's a rocker, that's for sure. So what caused it to keep from being on the original album, and how did you dig it up this time around?
I can't remember exactly why we didn't put it on the original album. It was a song that we didn't really finish because what you're hearing on that is essentially the rhythm track and a scratch vocal. And it was sort of live in the studio. And the idea was going to be if we were going to finish it to put a proper vocal on it. And for some reason, the one we finished didn't turn out so well. There was something wrong with the rhythm track. It just didn't have the energy.
Right.
And so we just dropped the song. But then I sort of backtracked and found that other take, which did have, that was the one we should have used, but by then we were out of time.
Right. Yep. That definitely has the energy. A lot of guitar in there, especially near the end.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I see there's also a video from the era of Run Out of Water from, is it an Australian TV show called Rage? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, the video was actually done by the record company that originally put that out.
Right.
And it was meant to be an MTV sort of thing. And Rage is one of the TV shows that picked up that video and showed it. And the original's been long lost. So all we have is somebody, took it off
air.
Yeah, right.
Very good.
Rage is done. It's a great TV show actually, because it's all music videos, mostly live ones, and it's every Saturday night in Australia on ABC from I think from like 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. and a lot of people stay up and watch Rage.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. I used to do the same thing back in the States, late night, the midnight special and the Don Kirshner's rock concert and all that back in the 70s. Yeah. Stay up all night watching. That's what you did when you were 15.
Those are great shows.
Yeah. And I love it. It's all on YouTube now, so you can kind of relive your youth anytime you feel like it.
I remember, being back in America to visit my parents. I was living in Sydney and Birdman days, and seeing the New York Dolls for the first time. I think they were on Don Kirshner's.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Rock concert, and it blew me away completely. I thought, here's a band. This is a band that's getting back to what we should be doing.
Yep. Well, that reminds me of my favorite concert of all time, which is 1973. My favorite band is Mott the Hoople. And it was in about 1,000-seater auditorium. So Mott the Hoople was the headliner. The New York Dolls were in the middle, and Aerosmith was the opening act.
Right.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
So
I think All the Young Dudes was one of Rob Younger's favorite songs of all time.
Very good. Can't go wrong there. And Ian Hunter is still kicking. He's 81 years old, 82, something like that.
And I think he just released something about a year ago, didn't he?
Yeah. He just never stops.
Steven was playing it.
Yeah. Well, I went to the Mott the Hoople reunion in 2009, and at that point he was in the 70s, and he looked like he was in his 40s at least. I mean, how does he do that? But anyway, I digress. So in the recording sessions for Take It to the Vertical, so you got Scott Ashton playing drums, you got Chris on guitar. What was it like? Were you recording kind of live in the studio? You kind of alluded to the fact that you probably were.
Yeah, we were doing playing the tracks live. Scott had come to my house. I was living in Montana at that time, and in Billings, and Scott had come to my house and spent a week there rehearsing with me, and then we flew down to Houston, and I have a pretty good working chemistry with Chris. We played so much together that we intuitively play well together, and at least we did at that time still. And we just set up like live and did the overdubs and the vocals later. If we got a good live track, we kept whatever was good on it. As long as the drum track was good, we could build on that.
Right. So at this point, you had been in this, well, now legendary band, Radio Birdman, probably back in 91 or 92. People weren't so, they're thinking of whatever's new grunge and blah, blah, blah. You'd been in the Navy, you come out, you're like starting your solo career, and you released this record. What happened then? Did it do what you wanted to do? Did it kind of fade away, and we're getting it now?
Yeah, I think it was, the record itself was pretty much overlooked. There wasn't much interest in it. It didn't have the sound of the time.
Right. Yeah.
By a long shot, because punk was finished, but grunge was there, and it didn't sound like that at all.
Right.
It was, cleanly recorded guitars, and we were really going for that Texas rock thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were. So it just didn't, it was out of sync with the fashion of the day. And so it kind of got overlooked. We did tour the album in Australia. We did an extensive tour, maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and the tour did pretty well as far as, attendances were good and people enjoyed it. But the album sort of disappeared after that.
Right. So now it's reappeared. It's going to be on vinyl. This is exciting. Have you got a copy of the vinyl yet? Has it been pressed?
No, I haven't got a copy yet. Waiting to get my first copy from Italy.
Right. That's pretty exciting. So after this record was released, what were you thinking next? What was your mindset like?
Well, I had signed to Red Eye Records, which was a subsidiary of Polydor.
Right.
In Australia. And so it was just writing the next one and getting it out. And the label boss for Red Eye is John Foy. And John was pretty clear about wanted to change the direction, because he says, if we're going to keep doing this, we got to change the direction, because we can't sell any of these records.
Yeah. And how did you take that news?
I said, well, I want to keep recording. So we'll figure out some kind of compromise together and do something that I want to do and that works for you. If we can't, then we'll just part ways.
Right.
And he suggested these two guys that were in the Celibate Rifles, Kent Steedman and Nick Reith, to be in the band for the next recording. And I said, okay, that's fine. We'll go with Jim Dixon also. He's going, well, Jim Dixon's a little bit old. Said, not as old as I am. And we're talking old in 1993.
Right. Yes.
I was like, what, early 40s then?
Yeah.
And we thought that was too old.
Well, yeah, let's face it, the 60s, the new 40 now or whatever. I don't know. It's like,
that's right.
It just keeps changing.
But John said, okay, well, you can use Jim if you want. We'll try it out. And of course it was the right call.
Yeah. Very cool.
And then we recorded the Outside album and then toured as that band for, I don't know, the next 3 or 4 years.
Right. So this is part 2 of your series. Have you got the next part lined up yet? Have you been thinking about
it? I'm not thinking about it yet.
Right.
It's there's going to be a record store day release. It'll be a 7-inch 45 that I recorded in Houston, but not with these same guys, with the Houston, with the Sugar Hill session guys.
Okay.
These guys are awesome musicians.
Right.
One of them, Mark Andis, was the bass player in Spirit.
Yeah.
And what we did was we recorded 2 covers of Texas psychedelic music.
Oh, great.
So one side is Hot Smokin' Sassafras.
The Bubble Puppy.
That's right. And the other side is San Francisco Girls by Fever Tree.
The great stuff.
Yeah. And we got the original Fever Tree keyboard player to play on that, play the B3.
Very cool.
So that's the next thing that's coming out on Wild Honey.
I'm already excited about that. I gotta get it.
Really great. Yeah, I'm excited about that too. And then I guess the next one, if there is a next one, will be outside.
Okay.
If he's doing them in sequence.
Right. And new music wise, are you working with James Williamson anymore, or what's the next plan? And as far as that goes?
No, I have a new album written.
Okay.
It's ready to go. I just have to be able to travel somewhere to record it.
Right.
So it's all demoed and ready. So yeah, I'm thinking this summer I'll record that, and that'll be my next solo album.
I don't imagine there are too many legendary recording studios in Hawaii. you can read up some old R&B saxophone player at the moment's notice and drag him in.
It's not going to happen on the Big Island here.
No, I don't think so.
No, there is a little studio where I recorded the vocals for 2 to 1,
right,
with James, and we did the backing tracks in San Francisco, and then came back and did the vocals here.
Right.
So it's a nice little studio, but it's not going to work for what I want to do.
Yeah. How important is the studio, or the vibe of the place, the feel when you're recording?
For me, it's really important.
Yeah.
And the vibe and feel of the place is important, and the drum sound is really important. And the drum sound depends on the room. It depends on what the shape of it, what it's made out of, as well as how you mic the drum kit. So I think the drum sound is very important.
Cool. Well, I can't wait for this 45 to come out on Record Store Day. So I'm going to jot that down right now. Thanks for talking to me about this record. Hope it does well. And I'm looking forward to seeing the vinyl when it comes out. Be great.
Thanks, Marty.
Really thank you. Have a good time there in Honolulu.
All right.
Bye.